Most people know Placido Domingo. Represented opera, defining grandeur for generations. The name alone could fill theaters, elicit standing ovations, and silence a room before singing a note. The world saw him when he returned. It seemed to be getting another sad but predictable legacy story. And stamina. But something changed. I heard the same applause. But air didn't. Admiration was replaced by questions. Conversations tracked him better than music. Early life, work. Placido Domingo was born Madrid, January 21, 1941. Music was his lifestyle, not an option. Parent of famous zarzuela singers Pepita and Bill and Placido Domingo Ferrer discovered his musicality. He could hum difficult tunes by age 5. Soul performance. His family moved in 1949, a year before he turned 8. His parents founded a zarzuela enterprise in Mexico, a turning point early in his career. A boys' singing competition got him on stage to sing children's songs. Parts with sister. Music affected everything about him. Childhood. He applied to Mexico City's National Conservatory after learning piano intensively as a child. 14 year old Conservatory of Music. He studied conducting with Igor Marovich in Mexico. He also trained vocally with Carlo Morelli. Famous baritone and tenor vocal coach. Domingo never received one-on-one vocal training outside OFI's conservatory education. All his learning was in performances. His first professional performance was at 16. He played piano with his mother. Piano concert in Merida. Later that year, he performed baritone in Zarzua. He liked baritone singing. But life didn't permit that. Tenor vocalist Amalia Moreno became ill while touring in 1958. Domingo embraced Luisa Fernandez's performance challenges. Even despite reservations about high notes, he sang. He stopped looking back because he started singing tenor. Domingo joined the National Opera in 1959. He auditioned in Mexico and had to sight read tenor aria. His first professional opera performance was a tiny role in Regalto at the Palacio later that year. Devil Arts. Though modest at first, he worked hard in many ways. From piano accompaniment for dancing companies to performing backdrop vocals for a rock band to stage acting productions. His global career began in the 1960s. Fame. His first leading role was Alfredo in La Traviata in 1961. Terry. Next year, he debuted in the U.S. Performing with opera giants like Joan Sutherland. He received rave praise in the second half of the 1960s after joining the New York City Opera. His Lincoln Center opening performances. A Metropolitan Opera after his 1968 debut, Domingo's career took off at nearly unimaginable speed. He sung at most major opera houses worldwide. Regularly visit La Scala, Vienna, Covent Garden, Salzburg. Member, not guest artist. Otello from Verdi is his trademarked. Had its stage debut in 1975. It would accompany Domingo for years to come with 200-plus Otello performances. By 1980, Domingo was more than opera vocalist. His fame was widespread. Magazine covers called him the Opera King, while TV specials boosted his fame. Recognition. He was dedicated to his craft in all his endeavors. Unrelenting. Domingo was building a reputation, and his legacy seemed unshakable at the time. Family, love, voice, and vitality behind it. A family where Placido Domingo was born. Music became a lifestyle, not simply a career. His parents, Placido Francisco Domingo Ferrer and Josefa Pepita Embalanes, were famous zarzuela singers from Spain. Early on, his parents recognized him. Talents and carefully cultivated them. Father of Placido Domingo had Aragon. The Catalan violinist was originally operatic and zarzuela. Sang baritone parts later. His voice was damaged from singing when sick, yet commitment to the trade kept him singing until the 1970s. Placido, a talented Basque singer from Japuza, Domingo's mother originally performed as a theatrical actor at Barcelona's Gran Teatre del Liceu, but succeeded sooner. Domingo was surrounded by music in his family, and when traveled with his parents formed a zarzuela troupe in 1946 with composer Federico Moreno Taroba visiting Latin America. They settled in later. Mexico founded the Domingo and Bill Performance Company. Domingo grew up seeing rehearsals, shows, and touring helping him learn to trust his intuition as an artist in a career playing music with his younger sister, Maria Jose, who was crucial part in his life. Domingo's personal life was also organized early. Domingo was 16 when he married piano student Ana Maria Guerra. Jose Plácido Domingo Guerrero, known as Joe, born 1958. Unfortunately, their romance ended. Domingo married Marta 1962. Veracruz lyric soprano Ornelas, 27. Marta was a prominent vocalist and Mexican singing artist of the year. Domingo met her while studying. They performed together, mainly at the Israel National Opera Company. Marta gave up singing when she was pregnant to concentrate on her family. From this relationship, Domingo had two more brothers, Domingo Jr., 1965, and Alvaro Maurizio, 1968. As since Domingo was popular worldwide, the family moved to Trinidad in 1960s New Jersey. Domingo kept homes in Manhattan, Barcelona, and Madrid for his global schedule. His pursuit when his busy schedule allowed, he naturally retired to his holiday house in Acapulco. Domingo has had his share of health issues. His death. He had surgery in 2010 for colon cancer. He was hospitalized in Madrid 3 years later for a pulmonary embolism. He fully healed. Late 2015, underwent gallbladder removal surgery, an operation he missed few performances due to this. Domingo's life is defined anew: music, perseverance, and resilience. Plácido Domingo's riches. Plácido Domingo is a world-famous opera vocalist and one of classical music's richest musicians. Music too. For over 60 years, Plácido Domingo has gained a lot from operas on stage and off. According to reputable sources, estimate his net worth at $300 million. This great fortune can be attributed to several sources. Example: Domingo's performing artist income is huge. Domingo has sung over 150 opera parts worldwide, thousands of concert engagements, almost 100 operas were recorded. Domingo became more famous after trois tenors concerts with Luciano Pavarotti and Jose Carreras. These 1990s concerts were huge hits with millions watching them, creating a lucrative commercial event for classical music concert and record sales. Besides singing, other sources, he earned money as a leader in other opera companies. His tenure was lengthy. General Director of the Los Angeles Opera and Washington National Opera. He still gets royalties from opera and crossover recordings. Additionally, he has had small commercial and endorsement contracts based on his surname. Not that there is sufficient information on his personal investments and holdings, his recognition, and labor at the top level for decades. He remains financially secure. Situation. Initial cracks. Plácido Domingo's condition was unclear for years. Unblemishable. That status began to crumble on August 13, 2019, when an Associated Press investigation rocked opera worldwide. The report stated that several women had accused Plácido Domingo of harassing them. Banned for over 30 years between the 1980s and 2000s world-class opera halls. Some women spoke on condition that they unnamed for professional reasons, painted a familiar scene that he allegedly used his status as one of the world's greatest tenors and then as leader of several opera houses to frighten younger women. There were allegations of inappropriate contact, forced kisses, lateness, nocturnal phone calls, and invites that cornered women in their career or defense off their bodies, per the Washington Post. What interested me wasn't the accusations, but their commonality despite originating from women and happening in several locales throughout decades. Professional incidents like Domingo's rehearsals, auditions, offices, and opera houses. A mentor and gatekeeper alienated and confused the women. To report PBS. Rapid, dramatic reaction. Opera companies rapidly separated themselves globally. The Metropolitan Opera, in where he was a fixture, cut relations with him owing to canceled performances. The others, including San Francisco Opera and the Philadelphia Orchestra, distanced themselves from him. This classical music was about to change. Official inquiries were close behind. Fallout, investigations, backlash. After Plácido Domingo was accused of sexual harassment in 2019, the opera community reacted more strongly than expected. Rumors were formerly circulated anonymously on forums were now affecting institutions hailed the composer as a classical music titan. One of the Los Angeles Opera, where Domingo performed, responded most strongly to these charges. General Director since 2003. He resigned in October 2019. His administrative position after facing intense pressure from investigations into the charges were happening. Domingo observed that the scandal prevented him from serving that organization he helped build. Domingo has long performed at New York's Metropolitan Opera. It's been a vital part of his long opera career. He will no longer perform that he was accused. He canceled his MCBTH performance down due to the scenario that may hinder others' work in an occurrence that could overshadow production. After nearly 50 years, the Met has canceled his performances. Tenure. In addition to resignations and case withdrawals, formal investigations added ramifications. The AGMA, American Guild of Musical Artists, which is the union representing opera singers, investigated the claims independently. 2020. The AGMA inquiry found Domingo guilty. Any inappropriate behavior, including sexual propositions within and outside the workplace. Information about these occurrences led to cancellations or postponements. Concert and opera performances. Many famous opera theaters and U.S. and European orchestras dropped Domingo. Certain festivals that had Domingo as a headliner reconsidered. Despite this, many classical musicians are concerned about the situation. Size of Domingo's response from these allegations. For instance, famous soprano Andrea Bocelli called these cancellations ludicrous because many before the trial, institutions are denouncing Domingo's career. Instead, suggesting legal action conviction is required before action. It appalled him. Entire affair. He says, resignations and other reactions canceled shows to official inquiries and artist support indicate how much the industry-wide shakedown continued. That a scandal involving one of opera's brightest stars became a global cultural phenomenon. Using classical music to confront long unresolved topics. Apology, denial, and public declarations during the sexual harassment scandal surrounding Plácido Domingo erupted. His public statements played a role. Story. Both the occurrence and his response to the charge. Domingo likely denied non-consensual activities at first. In any of his reported incidents. Despite multiple women's claims. Emerging, he maintained that his working interactions with the opposite gender were voluntary. Ignore the claim that he made unwanted attempts against women at work. False allegations. But by February's end 2020, after an AMGA probe revealed misbehavior from Domingo, apologized decades ago. This time, he apologized for hurting the accusers. Informed the press that he was glad these women felt comfortable speaking forward and that he was really sorry for hurting them. He claimed he matured from that. Even yet, he wanted to make opera work safer. Domingo apologized but did not take direct blame. The focus was on the women's suffering, not the claims. Domingo followed, saying he didn't mean to hurt anyone and wanted anything good to come from it. This was a few days after the first statement generated a sensation in the entertainment world. Domingo said the original statements had misled people. Domingo claimed he never attacked anyone. Acted like he never hindered anyone's career. He made people uncomfortable without malice, saying he had committed his life to it. Domingo's dilemma is promoting other artists his whole career, thus entered apologies for feeling harmed but not committing harm. His management of these occurrences has earned him fame, marked by ambiguity between admitting how people feel about these occurrences and avoiding. It fully apologized for certain allegations against him. Critics, including his accusers, found him incompetent. Domingo has also linked the claims to cultural trends in interviews. Domingo believes that altering global ideals and particularly power dynamics in the workplace in the #MeToo era Domingo has been well publicized, which has affected his charges. Stated that some of his critics has misinterpreted his aim, suggesting that what was initially modern society views acceptable behavior differently. Whether reading his remarks honestly or for self-justification, Domingo's public persona is a complex mix of remorseful and defensive, but always founded on the convicted of not causing harm. New allegations and international when many assumed Plácido Domingo's scandals were finished, reached its climax. A new cycle of unsettling events began, drawing attention, and in early 2023, other circumstances complicated his legacy. Spanish television claims rekindled international interest in Domingo's activities. An unidentified Spanish singer told La Sexta about Domingo allegedly mistreated her in the early 2000s when they worked together. She said he constantly made her uncomfortable, even asking she didn't know what to answer for fear of having his hand in her pocket in public. Her career suffered. She claims he tried to kiss her. Comments after a performance that effectively convey how deep-seated worry and doubt could be for others. The singer's evidence showed how co-workers warned each other about Domingo's actions. Some sources say they said, "Don't go up in the lift alone with Plácido Domingo," not related to legal accusations, but showed how deeply these issues had affected opera. Another Argentina development made waves around Latin America. Prosecutors Benacerrís linked Domingo to the authorities' alleged Benacerrís Yoga School is involved in sexual exploitation and trafficking. Police say networks exploit youngsters sexually, as out dozens of raids in Buenos Aires, arresting multiple suspects network. Investigation recordings apparently show chats between a male prosecutor's two people, Domingo and Mindy, discuss private meetings in Buenos Aires while Domingo was there. Perform. No charges have been filed or recording dates released. Argentine authorities say Domingo is not a criminal. And whatever his role in this affair is, Argentine law does not criminalize prostitution consumption. These allegations involve multinational countries and ongoing investigations. Therefore, legal results are uncleared. No official charges against Domingo in Argentina or comments on these fresh accusations. Concerns about the situation's complexity, beyond headlines and legal gray areas. A cultural discussion has emerged that Domingo's situation is used by critics and admirers that spark wider issues about power dynamics in the performing arts and how institutions may have permitted the inappropriate behavior for decades without consequence, without or increasingly demanding not only what was done, but how entire systems permitted such behavior to go unchecked for so long. This bigger dialogue matches #Mito and other change movements highlighted how corporate structure might re-traumatize survivors cover for powerful characters. From Newell of this shows that the Domingo's controversy continues, happening in a way that makes audiences and institutions examine individual accountability and structural change in classical music and beyond. Institutional and power system criticism. When Placido was accused, but Domingo's personal behavior was the focused undercurrents of evil emerged. Opera allowed such behavior to go unpunished for so long. Journalism and scholarly studies exposed a superstar story and culture that enabling classical music years before public. Nevertheless, Domingo's behavior was long a secret in opera. Singers and opera workers told reporters that performers warned them not to be alone with him in an elevator or practice location. A singer said actors were urged to stay together or not. There are also concerns noted by music industry scholars who work in opera must be included. Studied. Institutional frameworks within the opera industry protects prominent men from harassment that such activity is minimized, ignored, or disguised also because opera companies are hierarchical, unlike other works. In environments with supervision and HR policies, some opera companies may operate as tight-knit artistic societies where artist advancement depends on the generosity of a few decision-makers. A youthful opera troupe singers fresh to their craft may believe they cannot criticize something that makes people uneasy. Opera culture scholars emphasize the industry's respect for tradition, that it's hard to bring out bad things when the industry honors it's simpler to remember renowned geniuses. Protect reputation rather than a person. Art's reputation. A scandal would jeopardize this culture of silence. Protection caused grievances to go unreported or uninvestigated. They were reported, but follow-up took a long time or failed. Women said their complaints were dismissed or misinterpreted. Thus, Domingo's scandal has illuminated issues beyond wrongdoing. With a culture that values power and reputation, misbehavior can hide. Despite its challenges, the argument shows how an awareness of institutional failure and power dynamics may lead to a lack of all of this happened against the backdrop of the Hashimoto. Despite headlines, Placido could do little about the movement. Domingo shows that celebrity and talent can leave complex legacies. As one of the world's most famous opera singers, his career was also notable that surrounded by controversy, highlighting critical power questions, responsibility, and accountability. His story reveals how even the most admired when personal activities contradict public expectations, figures may be scrutinized. The Domingo debate goes beyond individual behavior. Classical music had to examine its hierarchies, traditions, and celebrity status may have permitted harmful behavior to continue not restricted to opera. It resonates throughout workplaces and industries. Power inequalities can quiet victims and shield powerful figures. In Domingo's story, human achievement and imperfection conflict. It makes audiences institutions, and artists think about admiration should be balanced with responsibility. His life inspires cultural reflection, whether through music or controversy. Talent does not excuse institutions from ethics. One must balance creative brilliance with safety, justice, and ethics. If this video was helpful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to avoid missing more stories on the lives behind the headlines. Please comment on if we can separate art from artist perspective. Thanks for viewing, and see you in the next deep dive into the stories that define us. Our culture.